a cake in the oven that's taking longer than I expected to cook. So if I disappear, I'm just taking it out.
Okay. What do you do it on smell or on?
Yeah,
science?
I just guess.
Do you? Oh,
well,
God.
and it didn't. Well, it didn't do what it didn't cook in the time the recipe said, so I've left it in. So I'll just go in a few minutes.
Do you stick a knife in and that?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Me too. Right. Let me find my PowerPoint, and then we're in business. There we go. Okay, so we're on lesson 27 now, getting through them. Buenos días, señoras y señores, y bienvenidos a la lección 27 de la clase de español. Busy lesson today, as always. Try and cram a lot into our hour. We didn't get very far on eating out yesterday. We last week rather. We barely got past the first course. So today we're going to go to the restaurant again, and we're looking at the differences between aquí and acá, both of which you'll hear in Spanish conversation. And we're just going to have a quick look at the days of the week and the months of the year if we've got time. So I'm hoping you've all remembered what they are. We're just going to have a quick revision of those. So last week we went to a cafe and the waiter asked us, ¿Qué va a tomar? ¿Qué van a tomar? ¿Qué vas a tomar? All mean the same thing. What are you going to have? What would you like to drink? What are you going to take? The trouble with going to a cafe or a restaurant in a Spanish-speaking country, you're never quite sure what they're going to say to you. They're clearly going to say, "What would you like?" But there are so many different ways of saying it, just the same as there are in English. So it's a pretty safe bet that when the waiter comes up and starts saying something, he's going to be saying, "How are you? Nice day. What would you like to have?" So your ears are tuned in. So there are lots of different ways to have it, to ask for it. This is a very common way. What are you going to take? Or what would you like to drink? So tomar can mean to take, and it can mean to drink. It's sort of interchangeable with beber, but not fully. So these are all the same question. They're all correct. Que va a tomar is in the formal mood. Que van a tomar is asking what you plural would like. So if there's four of you at the table, they may say que van a tomar, and que vas a tomar is where you've been going to the same cafe for the last week of your holiday, and the waiter's got to know you, and he's got on two terms with you rather than formal. You'd probably expect them to be formal, particularly considering our age and seniority. They'd show us a bit of respect, so that'd be a good thing. What else might the waiter say? Well, he could simply say que quiere. He may say usted if he wants to give you a sir or madam, but que quiere, que desea, puedo tomar su orden. Can I take your order? And the taciturn waiter, you get a few from time to time, might just say dígame, literally tell me. It's quite common to hear people say that in Spanish, and it's not rude. It sounds rude in English. We'd expect a bit more chat, around the conversation, but the Spanish don't necessarily get straight to the point. Dígame. And if you order just a coffee, he might say algo más, hoping to sell you a cake or a bit of something, a roll or something extra. Algo más is a common one you may hear. And if somebody starts speaking to you in Spanish at our level of Spanish, it can take you a sentence to sort of realize what they're talking about and then start to understand it. So when you go to a restaurant, you've got a bit of an advantage because you kind of know what they're going to say to you, what they're going to be asking you. So your ears are already tuned in to the topic, and you're ready for what's going to be said. And how did we get on with the menu last week? Lots of things on there that we maybe didn't know, but just to show that the Spanish find English just as difficult as we find Spanish. I snapped this the last time I was in Tenerife, and I thought about having some delicious chicken things for my lunch. So Spanish menus are littered with things like this. So they struggle as well as we do. So you get a sympathetic hearing if you can't, if you actually get the gender mixed up or can't remember the word for something. They're going to help you. So,
Eric, can I
yes.
just ask, are you going to go through the menu? Because there were about 4 or 5 things I really couldn't translate, and I couldn't even find them on Google Translate. So there's a few things you wouldn't mind going through.
I wasn't going to, but if you've got them marked up, I can give it a go. I might not know myself because I haven't really looked at the menu that well. What were they, Lorraine?
The second one was the Super de Picadillo. And soup, hash soup. Is that right?
What soup?
Hash soup.
Hash soup. What was it? Sopa de
Picadillo. Picadillo.
Picadillo. Yeah, I don't know. Don't know off the top of my head. Sopa de picadillo. Something picante. It means it's hot. Picadillo. No, I don't know. That wasn't in any of the translators. No.
It just came out as hash, but I didn't know what soup with hash would be really. So I thought I must have missed the interpretation there somehow.
It could be a.
Is it piccalilli soup? Type of piccalilli? Yeah.
That would be
when I looked on Google, not on Google Translate, but when I actually searched for it on Google, it came up with something like looks like it's got mince in it, like mince meat.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me.
Thank you.
When I can't find what something is in Google or something like that, I'll look on WordRef. I'll send you the link to it actually. It's sort of one of those that seems to have more of the obscure things. So I'll send that round. You can get it as an app on your smartphone, and it does have some of the more obscure ones. So picadillo or picadillo, it says minced hard-boiled egg, ham, and small pieces of crispy bread.
Croutons.
It sounds a bit like leftovers to me. So you can expect a bit of meat and egg in there, ham and egg and some croutons. Yeah. What were the other ones, Lorraine?
Just slightly further down was on starters. There was Chaos, Callos.
Well,
If anybody knows what that is.
Oh, I found that was tripe.
Yeah, I've got it as
I
tripe.
thought,
Oh.
right.
Thank you.
We got it as stew.
I got it as calluses, but I thought that was something you had on your feet.
Yes.
well,
Well, that's
yeah.
what I found, Carolyn, as well. Caroline, it was, I thought calluses in my soup or starter. No.
Yeah, so
Right.
so yes, in WordRef it can be a corn on your foot or a blister. It can mean ugly as an adjective. It can be an offensive female dog, and it can also be tripe, and I suspect it's the latter in this case, yeah, unless they're serving ugly dog on the menu. Chaos tripe, yes. Okay.
Under fish, there was Rosada.
Rosada, R-O-S-A-A-D-A. See?
Hake.
Hake, did you say, Jane?
I found it to be hake, but I mean, whether that's correct or not, I don't know.
That sounds probable, doesn't it?
Yeah, hake.
Lovely.
Hake's Missoula,
Is it?
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not hake then, okay.
It just said rosy, didn't it? When you
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a fish called redfish and pinkfish,
Yeah.
which is sort of fished around the Mediterranean.
Oh.
Maybe it's not.
It could be redfish. Only reason I know that, it was in Morrison's last week.
Good old Morrison's.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe Morrison's WordRef isn't a lot of help there. So yeah, I'll ask Lucia if she's ever had it there. And there are all kinds of odd fish in Latin America. I had something over there last time. I can't remember what it was, but it was rather nice, and they eat a lot of it apparently, and it's all farmed. So it's like their, I guess it's like their farmed salmon. Although it tasted, it was a white fish, and it tasted quite nice, rather nice. Blood if I can remember what it is. But I did famously in France one year. I ordered what I thought was lamb, and it came back with it was a huge fish full of bones. So one can never be quite sure.
Yeah, they always leave the bones in the fish, because I ordered once a fish stew when we were in Spain, and I expected it to come like with small chunks of fish, like we put, say, in a fish pie, and it came with like half of fish, literally just dumped in the stew, and it had got all the bones and everything in it. So you couldn't actually find all the bones out because they were floating in the stew, and it was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. Yes, they don't seem as worried about bones as we do here, but there we go. Yeah. So,
Eric,
yeah.
on the top one in the fish, what is puntatillas? The very top one. I didn't get that.
So I'm stupidly, I've not printed the menu out. I haven't got it with me. How do you spell it, Richard?
Puntillias.
I got strips of fish.
Sorry?
Puntillas.
I got strips of fish for that.
Okay.
Strips of fish.
Oh, it says, it's not very helpful. It says no English word found for puntillas. strips of fish, we think.
Strips of fish.
You know, what I tend to do is go for the ones I know, and I normally look for camarones when it comes, or gambas in Spain. So I know what I'm getting. I'm not a very adventurous eater. Anybody else got any others that need to be
in the dessert, Eric?
Yeah.
What was tocino di cielo?
Tocino.
I think that translated as sky bacon. I think.
I got sky bacon, but I don't know what it loves some. Sounds really good.
It's translated as sky
bacon.
Sky bacon.
Bacon.
Bacon of the sky.
Yes.
I found when I searched for it, I found it as a creme caramel.
Sounds more like
heavenly.
But I don't know. I couldn't see the logic because, like me, when I first looked, it came as something in the sky, and I thought, well, I can't really see the connection. But
okay. Well, I guess some English words would be a bit strange, wouldn't they? Summer pudding or Eton mess would be difficult to, you know, getting an Eton mess. What on earth is that? So yeah.
Next.
And any others? Anybody got any others? No?
I've got one last one, Eric, if I may. It's just the last one on the list was under desserts again, the pajama.
Oh yes.
How are we spelling that?
Pijama.
M-A.
Yeah, AMA.
Pyjama. Well, it's something you wear in bed, I think, isn't it?
Yes.
So, yeah.
I do like to know what my desserts are. I like my desserts.
Yeah. Well, that's my favorite. That's my favorite bit of the meal. So I'm there. It's either pajamas or something called jams and jammies. As a dessert, it's custard served with peaches and ice cream.
Oh, have some of that.
Yeah.
Some of that.
Some of that.
In Ecuador, they love their blackberries. They eat blackberries with everything, and I was so surprised when I went across that. I just thought a blackberry was a particularly English sort of thing. You don't tend to see them in Spain particularly, but in Ecuador they love blackberries, and they're everywhere. Almost every dessert has a blackberry in it, and drinks as well. So blackberry smoothies. So we did I put a little suggestion here, but obviously everybody's now going for the pink fish, the egg and ham soup, and the pajamas with custard. So it's a good idea to take a look at different foods, and I do quite enjoy having a look outside at the different things on offer. Rarely do you go to a restaurant in a tourist resort that doesn't have an English translation plus a French one plus a German one plus, you know, maybe others too. So our Spanish understanding isn't often tested, but if you do go more off piste, and I know Jane, you go to stay with relatives, and you're up in Catalan speaking Spain, aren't you? So you're going to find other odd things and local dishes too. So you can always ask. That's the best thing. So when you've ordered, the waiter brings you food. Typically, in England, you'd get somebody saying, "Here you go," and enjoy. They seem to be the sayings that the waiters have here. Enjoy. In Spain, buen provecho is what you'd expect. And in Latin America, it's very common. Indeed, it seems to be expected that when you enter a restaurant and walk through to your table, you wish every table that you pass, you wish buen provecho. So you get people wandering past your table saying buen provecho, and it's a bit odd, but quite nice, I think. They're wishing you good have a good meal. And drinking. When we take a drink, we normally say cheers, good health, something like that, don't we? When we take in a drink. In Spanish, it's salud, which is salud is the equivalent of saying good health. You finishing your meal, or eating your meal, the waiter may say, come along and check, everything all right? That's what you get over here. Está todo bien? Is what they may say in Spain. There may be a variation on it. Todo bien, if they're using a bit of shorthand. Hopefully, sí, está delicioso. Quiero algo más. Would you like anything more? No gracias. He comido suficiente. I've eaten enough. I've had enough. Les gustaría algún postre? Would you like sweet? So maybe he comido suficiente, or if you're like me and like Lorraine, by the sound of Lorraine, it's what we've been preparing ourselves for the last half hour. So sí, gracias, me gustaría. Yes, I would please me. There are lots of ways to say what you'd like. We know these very well. Quiero, of course, one of the first verbs we learned was querer, to want. So quiero, whatever it is you want. Now, in England, that would seem a little blunt, but you know, often we'd say, I want the lamb, but maybe you would prefer to say, I would like the lamb, and the same in Spanish. So quisiera is what you can ask for. Also, me gustaría means I would like. It would please me, in other words, but I would like. Me gustaría. Or voy a tomar, or voy a tomar, depending which part of Spain you're from. Most parts of Spain mix up their B's and their V's and don't seem to worry about it, in my experience. So, voy a tomar, I'm going to take. And then whatever it is you want off the menu. You can also use the imperative form of poner, to put. So you can say, ponme un café, which literally means put me a coffee. But in other words, you know, it's shorthand for I'll have a coffee. If it's formal, póngame un café. Now, this is in all the Spanish textbooks, but Lucy says that no one in Latin America would use that phrase. It sounds very rude. So maybe it's a Spanish thing. Póngame. If you get the waiter who says dígame, you might retaliate by using póngame on him. You can also say if you just want to ask for a coffee, dame un café, por favor, is absolutely fine. You've got to decide what type of coffee you want as well, because just as in Costa's, there's 30 types of coffee, and a lot of the phrases are, a lot of the types of coffee translate perfectly well into Spanish. So you can have Americano, you can have a cappuccino, you can have a latte, and café corto or café solo are also options in most Spanish cafes. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay, so you've gone into a cafeteria. It's a little cafe, a few tables. You've got yourself a coffee. There's not a menu kicking around, so you want something to eat. ¿Tienen algo para comer? Do you have something to eat? So here I've said tienen. Now that's the formal plural conjugation of tener. So you plural. Now if it's a small cafe, you'd probably say tiene. Do you have? In other words, one person, do you have? But if it's a large establishment, the Spanish will often use that particular conjugation. The same in a shop, in a supermarket or a department store. They may say tienen, do you have, meaning the whole of the operation, in other words. I tend not to use it if I'm asking in a shop. I'll just say tiene. Or tienes even, but you may see it written, you may hear it said, and that's why. You could also say, if you want something to eat, you could use the good old word hay. There is hay algo para comer, and that would probably be my choice of phrase. It's easy to remember and easily understood. ¿Hay algo para comer? And the answer might be si hay bocadillos. Yes, there are sandwiches. So, what sort of sandwiches is the next one? And de qué son? What sort are they? Or qué tipo is a nice, easy one to remember. ¿Qué tipo? What type? What sort? If you want another coffee, you're nice and sunny. If you want another anything, another drink, another glass of wine. Quiero otro café, por favor. I want another coffee, please. So there's no need to say un otro in this case, because otro means another. So if the item that you want is feminine, you say quiero otra. But coffee is masculine, so otro café. Now, don't get too hung up on this. If you say otro and it should be otra, nobody's going to worry too much. They'll be happy to sell you a cup of coffee, a feminine cup of coffee, just the same as a masculine cup of coffee. Don't lose sleep over it. We should try to get it right. It is important, but it's not a deal breaker in this case. As I say, they'll be glad to sell you a cup of coffee. The hard part is always paying. You could say, ¿Cuánto le debo? How much do I owe you? Cuánto es? How much is it? If you want the bill, it's la cuenta. Quisiera la cuenta. I would like the bill. Often the Spanish have this habit of creating diminutives, especially when they're in an informal situation. So it may be called cuentita. La cuentita, por favor. They'll often put a diminutive in to save saying please. It's a way of being polite without constantly saying please. We don't have that action in English. It's not part of our culture. We like to say please. We like to say thank you, and so do the Spanish. You don't not hear por favor, gracias. You hear it all the time, but often they will use a diminutive when they're asking for something, and they won't say please. We might not understand what they're saying. We might just think they're being a bit rude. But la cuentita, or quisiera la cuentita, would be a way of asking for the bill without being impolite and without saying please. I would stick to la cuenta por favor. It's perfectly good. Puedo pagar con tarjeta? Can I pay by card? No debe pagar en efectivo. You have to pay in cash. I don't think you'll be asked that in any part of Spain these days. They're all wired up, and they'd probably prefer a cash payment, a card payment, rather than a cash payment. If you're traveling further afield, then definitely places like Mexico, Cuba, Ecuador as well. It's much more of a cash society, and they prefer cash, and they'd also like not to have very large bills. So if you've got a $50 bill and you offer it to a little cafe, that's probably more than their takings for the whole day. So be careful to, when you get your money changed, either over here before you go or in banks there, make sure you ask for plenty of small bills, because they will struggle for change, and a lot of them will probably never seen a $50 bill, and certainly not a $100 bill. They'll probably think you've printed it out that morning and then wonder if the ink's dried yet. So they'll be very suspicious and alarmed if you present them with too large a bill. Obviously in Spain, euros is fine. They won't be phased at all. And as I say, they probably prefer that you paid by card anyway. How much is the bill? Now, I really struggled with numbers above 20, especially when they're being spoken to me. I've worked quite hard on trying to learn them, and it's a good thing to do, because if somebody says how much something is, and you have to ask them to write it down, it's a bit embarrassing. But 15 euros y 50 centavos. What's 15 euros? Anybody know?
15.
15, yes, well done. And 50 cents, so it's 15.50. 68 euros is how many? 68, yeah, 68. 83 euros. We're eating at more and more expensive restaurants here, or we're buying a lot of wine, one or the other. 83 euros. 83, yeah. Worth just revising your numbers up to 200, depending on how fine your dining is. And how many of you there are, of course, that's the critical thing. Okay, you may wonder if you should leave a tip. Often tips are included. It may say so on the bill, or you may ask, ¿Está incluido la propina? Does this include the tip? If it doesn't, you're happy. You're probably expected to leave a tip. And if you think there's something wrong, la cuenta está equivocada. Can't get my words out this morning. No pedimos esto. The bill's wrong. Equivocada. We didn't ask for this. So you might find something on there. No pedimos esto, or no pedí. I didn't ask for this. And the special dietary requirements. Quite a lot of people now are vegetarian. A lot are vegan. Vegetariano, vegetariana. Tiene platos vegetarianos. Do you have any vegetarian dishes? Soy vegano, or vegana if you're a lady. I'm a vegan. Tiene platos veganos. So note we've got the soft G in vegetariano and the hard G in vegano. That, of course, is because the G sound varies depending which letter it's followed by. If it's followed by an E or an I, E, it's a soft G, a H sound. If it's followed by an A, it's a hard G. Or if it's followed by an O, it's a hard G. So you could also say yo no como carne, or no comemos carne. We don't eat meat. And a few special dietary requirements maybe. People are allergic to lots of things, and we've done this when we went to see the doctor. Soy alérgico, or alérgica. I'm allergic to, whatever then you're allergic to. And some examples. Soy alérgico a nueces, allergic to nuts. That's a common one. You also see the words mani, cacahuetes for nuts or peanuts. Soy alérgico a huevos. I'm allergic to egg. And you may want to tell the waiter that one of your party has an allergy. Someone in your party has an allergy. In that case, you need to say él or ella es alérgico a nueces. Or as an example, mi marido está alérgico a nueces. My husband's allergic to nuts. We often find ourselves talking on behalf of a partner. A lot of my friends, it was often the wife who spoke better French than the husband, and she'd be expected to translate in every occasion that needed it. In my case, it's me that's expected to translate into Spanish when needed. I don't know. There's always a stronger speaker. Is that right, Jane? Do you find that?
Yeah.
You do. You have to take over when it comes.
Well, no, not so much. I tend to let my son take over it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's easier still. Yeah. What about Carl? I bet Carl lets. Do you let Giselle take over, Carl, or are you?
No way.
No way. You don't. No. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
It
Well,
depends on the language and where we are, I think.
yeah, you go steaming in there, and then she corrects you afterwards.
Yeah, they don't understand a word I say, mine, but I'll have a go.
Yeah, good. Well, that's important. So, food intolerances as opposed to allergies. Soy intolerante a la lactosa. If you're lactose intolerant, a lot of people find gluten doesn't agree with them, particularly in large amounts. Gluten is a perfect cognate in Spanish, but of course it's pronounced gluten. It's a masculine noun. Sesame is el sésamo, or ajonjolí. I'd never remember ajonjolí, but el sésamo is pretty easy to remember. My grandson's allergic to sesame. We have to carry around an EpiPen because it could be potentially quite serious. So there's sesame in all kinds of stuff now. So if you do have a sesame intolerance, it's quite troublesome. Eggs is another one. Los huevos, particularly eggs if they're not cooked. If you find so, it's important maybe to mention that. And seafood is another one. Mi marido no puede comer mariscos. Mariscos is seafood. It covers all eventualities. So that's worth remembering. Also interesting that the concept of allergies and food intolerance just doesn't exist in Central and South America. Maybe in some of the Mexican cities, Cancun, the tourist places, you may find people willing to discuss food intolerances because they get a lot of Americans. But across large parts of Latin America, the idea of being vegan or vegetarian is just too weird to consider. So you just got to maybe get your food and leave bits of it. It's difficult, but give it a go. They need to be told. And of course, when you're on holiday, it's always good to try the local food. So if you want to try local food, look for la especialidad de la casa, house speciality on the menu. Or you could ask, ¿cuál es la especialidad de la casa? If you see the words casero or de casa, that means homemade. So often that's worth giving it a go. You could ask, ¿qué es el plato típico? Or comida típica, regional dishes. ¿Qué es un plato típico local? You may get some advice. You may get something interesting served up on your plate. In Latin America, you'll see as you drive down the road, you'll see barbecues full of roasting guinea pigs. Coy asado, roast guinea pig, is a favourite. I've never had it. I've never particularly fancied it. Don't know what it tastes. It probably tastes a bit like rabbit, or most things taste like chicken, don't they?
Or rabbit.
Rabbit tastes a bit like chicken, but I imagine it's closest to rabbit. But the trouble is, they serve it like that, with all the skin on and the feet and everything, and it's full of bones, very fatty. So not at all nice. Ceviche is another common one you'll find in Ecuador, particularly as well in Peru. Raw fish. Well, it's fish marinated in lemon juice, and depending where you have it, it's quite nice. But it's down to taste, isn't it? I'm not a great one for raw fish, but ceviche is quite nice. And I've in the lesson notes, I did give a list of words in Spanish that it's worth knowing. Things that you'll find in a restaurant, some useful terms, how you'd like your food. We're not going to plow through those. It would be too mind-numbingly dull, really. But it's worth looking at that. It's worth trying to learn it, and we might have a test in a few weeks and see whether you've forgotten many of them. So worth doing that. The other thing I ought to consider is I don't know whether we've got this down here now. So one thing we ought to consider is breakfast and eggs. Caroline, you've got a question?
Yes, I was going to say, before we leave food, a rosada. I found out what rosada is because I've often chosen rosada in Spain, and it's a type of fish. However, I might not choose it in future because it's described as it's got the head of a pollock with 2 whisker sensors under the chin and the body of an eel.
Oh, right, yeah.
That doesn't sound very.
I think I've seen those on the slab. Yeah. But it probably tastes delicious, and you wouldn't get it served with a head on, would you?
No, I've had it before and it's been fine.
Yeah. So it sounds as if you eat the good bit and the ugly bits are left on the slab. Okay, well done. Thank you for that. I'll have to put that down on the list for future years because rosada, big ugly head, eel-like body. I can't stand eels, awful things. So I was just going to, before we left food completely, I was just going to talk about eggs, huevos, are eggs, and commonly get eggs for breakfast in Spain, Latin America. Huevos a la copa is a boiled egg, but I find that they ask for them either duro or which is hard, or tibio, which is soft. So huevos duro or huevos tibio, they'd know you wanted if you said huevos tibio, they'd know you wanted a boiled egg that you could dip your soldiers into it. Huevos revueltos, scrambled eggs. You can have a tortilla, which is an omelette, and huevos fritas are fried eggs. I wanted to know what a poached egg was, and my daughter-in-law suggested huevo escalfado. But she said, we just don't eat poached eggs in Latin America. I don't think I've ever seen them in a Spanish hotel either. I don't know. Did anybody come across poached eggs? I'm rather fond of a poached egg for breakfast, which is why I asked. But
seen them in a typical tourist hotel, but
yeah,
probably not very Spanish. Yeah, not very Spanish. I mean.
Yeah, no, I've never come across a poached egg, and I rather enjoy a poached egg. But here we go. So, moving on. The word for here in Spanish is aquí, but you also hear acá. they both mean here. So are the two interchangeable, or is there a difference in how they should be used? There is a difference, and it's quite a subtle difference, and it doesn't matter too much which one you use, in honesty. But if you want to get it right, aka is used when the subject is moving or has to move, and aquí when the subject is not in motion. So when I call my dog in Spanish, which I do to practice my Spanish, I'll say ven acá, not ven aquí, because the dog will have to move to come to me. So I'm saying come here. There's a sense that there's a movement involved in coming. So ven acá is what you need. The dog's gone deaf. She's 14 now. She's stone deaf. She does occasionally hear the doorbell when the postman rings it, but she ignores me completely. So I have to wave and jump about madly. So my Spanish conversations with the dog are things of the past, I think. If I wanted to say I am here, estoy aquí would be what I'd say. Spanish often miss words out completely, just like we do. Where are you? Here, we'd say in English, maybe. Wouldn't necessarily say, where are you? I'm here. I am here. We just say here. And in Spanish, you may hear, no está. It's not here. No need to say, no está aquí. When getting interesting that the Spanish don't say, they say no está, it's not, it's not here. No está, but that's just one of the things. We'd say not here, wouldn't we? But they'd say it's not. When getting directions, you may hear something más acá, which means it's nearer, it's closer. And when we're giving something to somebody in England, we'd often say, here you are. And the French, what would the French say? They'd say, voila. Is that right? Apple, your French is, how's your French, Apple? Quite good?
No.
No, oh, I thought you were.
Voici, Eric.
Voici.
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 Voila.
Voila.
It's here or it's there. Voila, voici.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. Who was that? I could hear you, but I couldn't see you.
Amanda.
Amanda. Thank you very much, Amanda. So in Spanish, you want to say, here you are, we could say, aquí tiene. Here you go. Aquí tienes, if you're handing something to a friend. You want them to take it there. So let's just have a quick refresh on days of the week and months of the year. We should know these fairly well by now. I've got this grid, and it's going to demand you to think forwards and backwards, which is, you know, the days of the week are easy when we start with Monday and we go lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado, domingo. But when we've got a one, we've got to go back one or two. It starts to get a bit more difficult. There's a couple of phrases. Lo he olvidado, I've forgotten it, is one you might use, or no lo recuerdo, I can't remember it, is another one. No recuerdo, I don't remember. So hopefully you won't need those. Who's an expert in days of the week? let me. Are you waving, Paul? You're not waving. You're drowning.
Give it a go.
You give it a go. Okay, well done. Yeah. So, ayer means, what does that mean, Paul?
Yesterday.
Yeah. Hoy is
today, and mañana is tomorrow.
Yeah. So, the first one, ayer fue sábado, hoy es domingo, and tomorrow lunes. So in the second line, yesterday viernes, hoy es
sábado,
y mañana será
domingo.
And the third line, tomorrow is martes, hoy es
it'll be domingo.
Hoy es
lunes.
Lunes, sí. Ayer es
and the last line is miércoles, jueves, viernes.
Viernes, yeah. On the third line, ayer fue domingo.
Domingo.
Yeah. It's harder, isn't it, when you're asked
think about it,
not to give the list, but to actually jump about a little bit. And well done, Paul. So months of the year, there's more of those, so they're a bit trickier. Who fancies having a go at these? Any takers? What about Jane? Jane, your Spanish is very good. You'll be.
No.
So, el mes pasado, este mes, and el mes próximo. So, enero fue el mes pasado. Este mes es
febrero.
Febrero. El mes próximo. Marzo, sí. The next line. Marzo. Abril.
Mayo.
Sí. Se dice mayo.
Mayo.
Yeah.
So el mes pasado is agosto.
El mes pasado es.
Oh, hang on. No, sorry. Julio.
Julio, sí, muy bien.
Este mes, agosto.
Agosto. Sí.
Septiembre. El mes pasado, octubre. Este mes, noviembre. El mes próximo, diciembre.
Diciembre. Sí. Muy bien. It's well done, Jane. It just makes us think a little bit more about it. We all know these quite well. I got an exercise the other day that made me think, and it caught me out because I wasn't expecting it. And often things are quite easy in Spanish when we know what's coming, but when we don't know what's coming, it can catch us out. So I might try that little exercise with you in a few weeks' time as we get towards the end of the course. So that's the end of our lesson this week. I think we're about right, are we?
Right.
Yeah, we're a minute off. Have we got any questions about this week's lesson that haven't already been asked? I need to swat up on my Spanish fishes. That's quite clear, and my Spanish puddings as well. But any other questions from anybody? No. Well done, everyone. we'll have a week off at half term, which is I think it's a couple of weeks away. I'll have to sort that out. I'll give you a bit of warning for it. So we'll have a break then, and then the plan will be to go through until the middle or third week of July. We'll have a break from Spanish for a few weeks, for 6 or 8 weeks, and we'll come back in September. Hopefully we'll be back at the Copeland Centre in September, and we'll all be able to get together in class, and that'll be a lot. I think that'll be a lot nice. It's a lot easier to learn when we're together. It's a lot easier to teach when we're together as well. Not that my teaching is particularly scientific, but I do find it easier when you're face to face. And but we'll keep it under review. I've sort of been learned with COVID not to make too many plans, and holidays and things like that. My holidays have been given the red light by Margaret. She says, "Not going abroad this year. It's too risky." She doesn't mind the concept of going abroad and being in a foreign country, but the idea of coming back through an airport, queuing for hours in a departure lounge full of coughing people is too much for her. And I don't know. Maybe she's right. Well, some of you are going abroad. You're going, aren't you, Ian? And
well, when we can, not at the moment. We've had our flights cancelled in June.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they cancelled them last month. Once it was sort of debatable.
Right.
And actually, the rates in Lanzarote are higher per 100,000 than they are in say Peterborough.
Oh yeah, we're quite low. We're quite low here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Has anybody booked a holiday? Has anybody been able to book? Were you
not abroad? Not abroad, anyway. No.
No.
I mean, we hope to go out in September.
To go to America.
Yeah. You're hoping for America, Abigail, are you?
In September, but I don't know. This is rebooking from June last year when we were supposed to go. So I've tried again for this September, but I'm not too hopeful.
Yeah.
But, we're going to Norfolk next week. I think we'll probably be allowed into Norfolk.
Yeah.
That's where I am this week.
Okay, well.
Right.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with Norfolk, is there? It's very nice. Yeah, the weather's not always.
No, it's lovely, but.
Yeah. You might be lucky.
The weather forecast doesn't look too promising for the first week.
Yeah. It's not great here, so. At least,
no.
At least if it's raining in Norfolk, you can be pretty sure it's raining in Peterborough. Okay, so I'll keep you all posted about that. Well done, everybody, and thank you very much. And nos vemos la próxima semana. Ciao.
Ciao. Adios.
Bye.
See you.